I know one of the questions we were asked was what made us sad or confused. Uh, One thing that really struck me was there was another group that came from one of the churches in Guatemala, and there was one of the guys that came with that church that he actually said some things to Danny that were not very nice, and it just that racism and
Prejudice.
yeah prejudice are not. It's not. We don't have the license on that. We don't own the franchise for
Mm-hmm.
that. That it's a universal thing, and even in the church, and how we all as representatives of our church need to always be cognizant of that. That we are representing Christ in all the things we do. So just the little things we say sometimes, even if we're kidding, we need to be very careful about that because we can you can really hurt people's feelings sometimes.
I guess one of the things that made me very sad on this trip was the time that we went into a home and visited, and there was a young lady. She was 20 years old, but probably the size of a child, of a small child. She was disabled, probably cerebral palsy. But in our country, she would have had so many advantages. She would have had a motorized wheelchair, and she would have been able to go to school, and she would have had, health care of all kinds, and as many benefits as as possible. But in a poor area of Guatemala, she had no help. Her family members had to basically just carry her from place to place. They had a hammock strung up in their home, which is a very small one room home. So the hammock took up a lot of space, but she had the hammock to sit in during the day. And even if she had had a wheelchair, there would have been no way for her to travel up and down the steep and rocky hillsides. So this young lady was virtually going to spend her whole life very isolated, probably very lonely, with just nothing to look forward to. So my prayer is that our visit lightened up her day and gave her something to think about. And she was a little shy, but she did, look us in the eye and reached her hands out and held our hands, and seemed to be trying to communicate. But it's just sad to think that if someone in our family needed benefits medically or whatever, we would have it. But somewhere like that, they're not able to. So that was sad. And the other thing, the Danny asked us if anything made us confused, and I automatically thought of the language barrier. And I'm determined, I'll just tell everybody so y'all can hold me accountable, that I'm going to try to work on my language skills so that next year I'll be able to communicate better. And so we all need to practice our Spanish so when we go, we'll be able to speak directly to people. It's fine to speak through a translator, but it's awfully nice to just be able to speak to people one on one.
And confusing is driving in Guatemala City too. So that's very confusing.